Hey guys, Nicholas in the household here, and with the Stickmen finale airing back in May, I decided to take some time and go over the history of Stickmen, from its humble beginnings 3 years ago to all of Season 3. This is the first episode, so we're gonna be going over Season 1. Alright, and just the beginning of Stickmen in general. So, Stickmen, the character, started a long time ago, let's just say that. But it wasn't in the form like we see in the show at all. Really, it's just like the basic drawing of the regular Stickmen. We're just a pretty commonplace, so you could really date this origins of Stickmen back quite some time. So, what happened, but, that's not really too important. What is important is, around September of 2022, I started to get into animation. That's when I started doing animation. And, I did the Nicholas in the Household animatics trailer, which didn't come to fruition, but I also did another test animation that was never posted. It was called Stick Figures, and it was basically just, you can't watch it. I don't want you to, but it's on my old iPad that broke, so you can't access it. But it did feature the Stickmen characters that we know and love today. Well, to be precise, black, but 2 blacks, pretty much. I was using trying out the background tool and animating Stickmen on top of it. Yeah, it was kind of weird, but that was like the first animation of Stickmen that I ever did. Actually, I did do some animations on, like, ABCA and Cool Math Games and stuff, back when, like, the teachers would let us have our Chromebooks and stuff, and I had, like, an animation software, but, they weren't Stickmen. I just kind of did the same Stickmen idea, but that's not important. But Stickmen didn't really happen until October 30th, 2022, when I got the grand idea for Stickmen Race, and so I animated a little concept trailer using the Stickmen characters, and so Stickmen was born. The next day, I made a trailer 2 for it, also promoting it, and then a couple days later, on November 3rd, I made a 3rd trailer. Now, things are going pretty hunky-dory. Stickmen Race was what began, and, I was just kind of sort of sitting there with the idea stewing in my head. But then, what happened on November 5th changed everything. Alright, so basically, one day, I was just sitting around, it was a Saturday, and I decided I wanted to make a little animation, to show off Stickmen, to kind of market Stickmen Race, and also show kind of my new just kind of practice animation in general for, like, animated video. And so, that's what I did. I named it Stickmen and the Stickmen Race, and, I didn't think much of it. It was kind of funny, it was kind of a cute little animation. Fun little fact, there's actually a huge notable difference between, the first episode and modern Stickmen. The early days of Stickmen took a lot of, inspiration from rubber hose style, which is really cool. But, And the heads were a lot bigger, the drawings were very primitive, and most importantly, I didn't have copy and paste yet. I just posted episode 1 and didn't really think too much of it. Then, the next day, on November 6th, I made another one, this time introducing Supervillain. Probably the most iconic character in Stickmen ever. And, then, I had the idea for a 3-parter. For this little Stickmen miniseries promoting Stickmen Race. Basically, the Robots trilogy, which was the first ever 3-parter in Stickmen history. A fun little fact, there's never been a 2-parter. There's never been a parter that's less than 3, which is kind of funny. Anywho. I even kind of had a little bit of a story. which, I mean, I had no plans to make Stickmen story-based back then, since it was just a cartoon to promote the game. It was more meant to be purely episodic. Of course, that changed pretty significantly. I mean, just compare the Season 1 of Stickmen, the first 2 episodes, to even the rest of Season 1 in general. So, yeah, that's what I ended up doing. I came up with Robo King's backstory, and, yeah. After that, and, episode, and Robots Part 1 released on November 7th. For the first time ever, I took a day in between, where Robots Part 2 released on November, 9th. And then I took another day in between, where Robots Part 3 released on November 11th. And, after that, as you can imagine, and despite how primitive and early the animations are, and despite how I could probably actually do that very easily now, considering my skill level, back then, yeah, animating 3 Stickman episodes with no copy and paste was pretty hard. Sure, you could do one in one night, but I mean, it kind of sucked. So, I decided to take a little bit of a break. Kind of just, take a break. Maybe for a couple weeks. So yeah, that was the plan. Take a break. Then I got grounded. I don't really want to get into what I got grounded for, since it's kind of embarrassing. But, yeah, I ended up getting grounded. Until then, so yeah, that's why there was no videos, no Nicholas in the Household videos from, November 12th to November 18th. 2022. So basically, then, on November 19th, I got out for Thanksgiving break, and I was promptly ungrounded, obviously. So, yeah, and I met up with my dad, and, I did a little quick video, because I'd been absent for, the entire week, and, it wasn't a new Stickman episode, it was the Stickman Robots Collection, which, I noticed a lot of animation errors in Robots Part 1 through 3, so I decided to go back and fix them all. And, yeah, that's what I did, and I posted it. However, and there's some new content too. However, at the end, there was a brand new teaser for my biggest Stickman episode yet. Stickmen, Revenge of the Supervillain. Yeah, I'd sort of gone pretty much full-time now. I'd never intended it to even make it past the Robots trilogy when I first started. But, I mean, hey, I ain't complaining. Got a whole web series out of it. That has been really awesome. And so, that's what I did. I just I hinted at Revenge of the Supervillain. And it would come December 2022. And so, me and my dad actually got to work on it together. Basically, he did the third dimension stuff in the episode. And that's what we spent a good chunk of Thanksgiving break on that year. It was really fun just hanging out with him, too. Hanging out with them, collaborating on Stickman. And, he also showed me one thing that changed the course of my animation forever. He showed me how to use the copy and paste tool, which was just super, super huge, and honestly made all the difference in the world. But yeah, it was super fun working together, having him draw the third dimension with his crappy drawings, and even having the Stickmen fully talk for the first time, which, I mean, it's pretty trivial now, considering Stickmen. But, I mean, back then, they didn't talk at all, except in, tiny voice lines, and there's even a whole joke about it. But, I will say, this is the worst episode in the series. My dad really hated the whole supervillain going back in time and killing Baby Black, and honestly, I agree, it was super out of character. And even back then, I regretted it. By the way, Revenge of the Supervillain actually got pushed up a little bit to November 25th, 2022, rather than the aforementioned December 2022. So it was kind of rushed, honestly. But, yeah, I wasn't very proud of it, honestly. It kind of sucked. And it was my least favorite Stickman episode so far. But there was still room for more because I decided to go all in, and the next episode was Seeing Double. And this episode oh my god, it changed everything, dude. Just going back, let's just paint the picture for you. So I started out pretty slowly, and I didn't have too many huge plans for the episode. just kind of going there. But it ended up being the first 1-minute Stickman episode in the entire series, which is trivial now, obviously, as I explained in a short that I posted on the 3-year anniversary. It's a pretty trivial thing now, obviously. Like, all my animations, besides, like, animated comics, are over a minute. But no, this was the first time, and it was a huge milestone, too. It was also the first episode where I fully implemented copy and paste. Revenge of the Supervillain definitely had some copy and paste elements, but, that was mostly from my dad's handiwork during the third dimension, and most of the 2D scenes were done the traditional way, I guess. But seeing double, copy and paste was an absolute lifesaver. Released on December 3rd, 2022, and set a precedent. It was a super special episode. Well, it wasn't the first episode to use a background. Revenge of the Supervillain used a little bit in its episode, but it was the first episode to make heavy use of it, and the Vacuum Stickman battle is honestly one of the favorite bits of Stickman Season 1 so far. Anyway, my next episode was Stickman Party, and honestly, it wasn't too notable. Like, I mean, in terms of production, I honestly really liked the episode, but the production overall went pretty smoothly. Nothing too major happened. I will say, it did, that I did start doing stick peeks, though. And in case you don't know what stick peeks are, basically, allow me to fill you in. So, a stick peek is kind of like the modern super peek system that we have nowadays on the post tab. But back then, I didn't have a post tab, and stick peeks were shared exclusively with my father, who is like the #1 fan of Stickman. And unfortunately, Stickman ended before I opened the community tab, so we're probably never getting another stick peek again, but for the community tab at least. But hey, you still got super peeks for Superboy. Yeah. Another thing that I do while making these videos is I commonly listen to music. And I still do that from time to time nowadays. But, it's kind of back and forth a little. Like, sometimes the music will help me focus and honestly gets me through it. But other times the music is kind of too much noise and kind of makes me feel worse. Animation's a huge pain in the butt, by the way. Yeah. Anyway, that's kind of off topic, but yeah, I listened to music back then when animating the first season. Anywho, after Stickman Party was released on December 13th, 2022, Stickman had been going over for about a month now, but we already had 8 episodes, which, I mean, looking back on the progression of Stickman now, the release of Stickman episodes throughout the later points in its life, later years of its lifespan, that was genuinely impressive. They were able to do a whole season within 2 months, or within 1 month, actually, within almost, not even 2 months fully. Like, wow, it's kind of crazy. Anywho, then comes episode 9, which is where things start to get interesting. Like, really, really interesting. What happened was, for episode 9, I was going to do a completely different kind of episode. It was going to be use the microphone, and it was going to be my most ambitious episode yet. It was going to be called The Ballad of the Supervillain. Anywho, so, it was going to be a song, sung entirely by Supervillain, basically explaining his origin. Basically, the main points were reused in Origin of the Supervillain when that came out. But, I was really hoping to make this song as the first ever Stickman song. I wrote the song at school on my Chromebook, and when I got home, I sang it. And it was going to be the first one that was, like, fully 30 frames per second, which is a feat I still have not accomplished. It was going to be fully 30 frames a second, and it was going to be, let's just say, difficult. But yeah, so I got to work, I sang the song. However, I soon stopped, because I had a better idea. I really wanted to make a very Stickman Christmas, because Christmas was fast approaching, and I really doggone wanted to make a Christmas special. Like, I really wanted to make a Christmas special. I thought it'd be really to make a Christmas special. But, what, I ended up doing was I decided to not cancel Ballad of the Supervillain, but sort of put it on the back burner. And, this would later come to bite me in the butt, as my iPad got broken with the song on it. So, I was unable to do that. By the way, towards the end, I decided to reduce it back down to 2 frames per second. Before the iPad broke, obviously. And, I no longer had access to my school account, which had the lyrics in Google Doc form, because, I had moved, and my Google account was locked out. So, Ballad of the Supervillain is one of the most fascinating pieces of lost Stickman media, honestly. Anywho, But anyway, during the production of A Very Stickman Christmas, I told myself that A Very Stickman Christmas was not going to interfere with the main series, because, well, I mean, about the Battle of the Supervillain was going to be episode 9. A Very Stickman Christmas was just going to be kind of a fun distraction, pretty much. So, to say that the production of A Very Stickman Christmas was hell would be kind of an understatement. This was by far the most stressed out I had ever been about a Stickman episode. Well, up until that point. Obviously, now it was kind of chump change, but basically it was already like December 12th by the time I started, so Christmas was almost here, and oh dear God, I need to make this special super fast. So that's what I did. I pulled in crunch time, worked on it during road trips, and worked in times where, I actually felt stress, a good amount of stress, making A Very Stickman Christmas. But on December 19th, I finally managed to release it and finish it and get it out just in time for Christmas. So, yeah, awesome. Then I sort of took a little bit of a break. 1, because of the fast approaching holidays, and 2, we were literally moving down, we were literally in the process of our big move. If you want more info on that, you can buy my book, by the way. So yeah, that's what we did. I took a little bit of a break, and then along came December 27th, where I decided to make the next episode in Stickman, Robo Rampage. I had already planned out all the episodes in advance, by the way, but by the time Revenge of the Supervillain finished, I decided to make Robo Rampage on December 27th. Well, that's the main reason is because Ballad of the Supervillain was just going to take too long, and I wanted to get 1 or 2 more episodes out by the end of 2022. And besides, so I pushed A Very Stickman Christmas up to episode 9, and, besides, Ballad of the Supervillain was going to be episode 9, and A Very Stickman Christmas was going to be a non-canon distraction. It even says, no, this is not canon in the description. But come on, bro. Like, A Very Stickman Christmas is at least a traditional Stickman episode. Like, what kind of episode would Ballad of the Supervillain be? Just a random musical. I feel like A Very Stickman Christmas fits more rather than Ballad of the Supervillain. So yeah, I did the entire episode in 1 day. And somehow, I actually did that. I'm pretty impressed with myself. Pretty doggone impressed with that. And yeah, not too much else to say on Robo Rampage, apart from Game Talks being canceled that day, but that's a different story. Yeah. Then, almost immediately, I started on the Season 1 finale, Return of the Robo King. It was going to be the biggest Stickman episode yet. It was the first one with audio, and it was, at the time, the longest, only to be thrown by Showbiz almost immediately. But I basically spent the next couple of days working on it, and by the end, it was honestly a complete masterpiece. I am honestly super proud of Return of the Robo King, and might be my favorite episode of Season 1. And is honestly one of my favorite episodes that I've ever made. It was just so cool. Like, the day of, I also posted a short called Where Are You Black, which showed the non-double black looking around, looking for Black who had just been kidnapped, the other Black who had just been kidnapped. So yeah, that was pretty fun too. Had some gags. But, with him looking everywhere, like Supervillain's lab, and him holding up a sign saying, he's not here, get lost, and even looking in Yellow's prison cell. But yeah, I am super proud of Return of the Robo King. And honestly, it just honestly one of the most symbolic episodes for me, just meaning-wise, because it marked the end of an era, I'd say, being Stickmen Season 1, which was honestly just kind of one of the... Well, 2023 was the golden age of Stickmen, I'd say. 2022 was just... Honestly, it's just so nostalgic looking back, and it's honestly probably when I had the most fun making Stickmen. And the thing with Black looking off into the sunset, just, it's so perfect, and fits so well. And, at the time, I didn't even consider this Stickmen Season 1, like, I didn't even know what to call it until early 2023, when I started making Stickmen Season 2. I just thought of this as kind of just, like, as I said in, like, the comment that I left down below, as, like, the end of an era, and how it wasn't the end of Stickmen. I still had ideas, for, Date Night, Showbiz, Catch You on the Rewind, and the Erasing. But those were the extent of my ideas before 2023 hit. But, yeah. It was just super cool seeing the end of Stickmen. One more thing before I go. It's a little interesting tidbit. Not really too important, didn't know where else to fit it. While I was coming up with concepts for the Season 2 episodes, back in December of 2022, I came up with the idea, since Stickmen was meant to originally be like a rubber hose thing, to turn the background kind of gray, mimicking old cartoons. But with the introduction of the different color backgrounds, I figured that would ruin it. So I ended up sticking with the white. And it worked because Stickmen kind of transitioned away from the original rubber hose roots. Anyway, that's history of Stickmen Episode 1. Tune in next episode in 2026 where we go over the making of Season 2. Thanks for watching, guys.